Imagine reaching for your daily serving of fruit, believing you're making a healthy choice, only to find it could be sabotaging your joint health. After 50, the wrong fruits can quietly fuel inflammation, accelerate cartilage breakdown, and amplify arthritis pain. In today's video, we'll expose 3 everyday fruits you might be eating right now that can actually destroy joint health over time. Don't let these innocent-looking snacks undermine your mobility and comfort. Watch to the end so you know exactly what to avoid and what to eat instead to soothe and protect your joints. As we get older, there's one thing many of us take for granted until it starts to slip away, and that's the simple ability to move without pain. You may notice it gradually: stiffness in the morning, a dull ache in your knees after a walk, or a grinding sensation when you bend down. These aren't just signs of getting old. They're clear indicators of declining joint health, and they deserve your attention before the damage becomes irreversible. At the heart of joint health is a smooth, resilient tissue called cartilage. It covers the ends of your bones and allows them to glide over each other effortlessly when you move. Think of it like a cushion, one that absorbs shock and prevents bone-on-bone contact. But over time, especially after the age of 50, this cartilage begins to wear down. It thins out, cracks, and in some areas, can even disappear completely. Once cartilage is lost, it doesn't regenerate easily. This degradation is one of the leading causes of joint pain and stiffness, especially in weight-bearing joints like the knees, hips, and spine. But the problem doesn't stop at cartilage. Surrounding your joints is a thick fluid called synovial fluid, which acts like motor oil in an engine. It lubricates and nourishes the joint. As we age, our bodies produce less of this fluid, and what's left becomes thinner and less effective. Without enough lubrication, the joint becomes dry and creaky, causing every movement to feel more difficult than it used to. You might not notice it when you're sitting still, but once you start walking, standing, or climbing stairs, that absence of cushioning becomes very real. Adding to the issue is a silent, often invisible culprit: inflammation. As the body ages, low-grade chronic inflammation becomes more common, even in people who consider themselves healthy. This can be caused by diet, stress, lack of sleep, and other lifestyle factors. In the joints, inflammation can lead to swelling, tenderness, and further breakdown of cartilage. It's like a slow-burning fire that eats away at the structures designed to keep you mobile. And here's the emotional truth: it's not just about discomfort. Losing joint health can feel like losing a part of your independence. Activities you once loved, like gardening, hiking, or even walking your dog, start to feel like chores. The stairs in your home become daunting. You start thinking twice before getting down on the floor with your grandchildren, not because you don't want to, but because you're not sure you'll be able to get back up. The pain isn't just physical. It seeps into your daily life, quietly stealing your freedom and joy. This decline doesn't happen overnight. It builds up gradually, often over years of micro-damage, dietary choices, sedentary behavior, or wear and tear from repetitive movement. The good news is that by understanding what's happening inside your joints, you can take proactive steps to slow, stop, or even reverse some of the damage. Too often, people accept joint pain as a normal part of aging. But while aging may be inevitable, pain doesn't have to be. By identifying the true causes: cartilage erosion, loss of synovial fluid, and chronic inflammation, you put yourself in a position of control. And that's the first step to reclaiming your mobility, strength, and confidence. Inflammation is your body's natural defense mechanism. When you cut your finger or twist an ankle, your immune system triggers an inflammatory response, sending blood, nutrients, and immune cells to heal the injury. In this acute form, inflammation is essential. It's what keeps us alive, fighting off infections and repairing damage. But there's a darker side to this process, one that's especially harmful to joint health as we age: chronic inflammation. Unlike the helpful, short-term response to an injury, chronic inflammation is a lingering, low-level reaction that simmers in the background for months or even years. You can't always see or feel it directly at first, but it's there, slowly damaging your tissues, breaking down cartilage, and triggering pain. In your joints, chronic inflammation leads to swelling, stiffness, and ultimately the destruction of the very structures meant to protect you. Over time, the cartilage thins out faster, synovial fluid becomes less effective, and the joint itself can become deformed or painfully immobile. This kind of ongoing inflammation is a root cause of joint pain and arthritis. It's not merely the effect of aging bones wearing out. Instead, the immune system remains in a state of mild alarm, constantly releasing chemicals called cytokines that degrade joint tissues. You might wake up with stiff fingers or sore knees, even though you didn't injure them the day before. That's inflammation at work, quietly eroding your mobility. One of the most important and often overlooked drivers of chronic inflammation is diet. The foods you eat can either help calm your immune system or stoke the inflammatory fire. Highly processed foods, trans fats, and excessive sugar are among the biggest culprits. They increase levels of pro-inflammatory markers in the body, encouraging the very processes that break down joint cartilage and increase pain. This is where even seemingly healthy choices can backfire. Take fruit, for example. Fruit is often marketed as universally good for you, and for many people, it is, in moderation. But not all fruits are created equal when it comes to joint health, especially if you're over 50 and struggling with inflammation. Many common fruits are high in sugar, specifically fructose, which can be problematic. When you eat too much fructose, it doesn't just raise your blood sugar. It can also increase uric acid production in the body, a known trigger for inflammation and conditions like gout. Even without gout, the sugar in fruit can feed chronic inflammation in subtle ways. Excess sugar consumption increases insulin resistance, elevates blood sugar levels, and leads to greater production of inflammatory cytokines. If you're snacking on sugary fruits multiple times a day, thinking you're making a smart choice, you might actually be fueling the very joint pain you're trying to avoid. That's why it's so important to understand not just the visible wear and tear on your joints, but also the invisible, systemic processes that make it worse. By learning how inflammation works and how what you eat affects it, you can make more informed choices that support joint health rather than undermine it. Let's start with one fruit that surprises a lot of people: grapes. They're small, sweet, and often marketed as the perfect healthy snack. Parents pack them in lunchboxes, health magazines show them spilling beautifully from bowls, and you might think grabbing a handful is one of the safest choices you can make for your body. But if you're over 50 and worried about joint pain, grapes might not be as innocent as they seem. The problem begins with sugar content. Grapes are among the highest sugar fruits you can eat. A single cup of grapes can contain over 23 grams of sugar. That's roughly 5 to 6 teaspoons. And while it's natural sugar, your body doesn't necessarily treat it all that differently. Grapes are loaded with fructose, the type of sugar that can pose special problems when it comes to inflammation and joint health. Here's how it works. Fructose is metabolized in the liver, where it can increase production of uric acid. Elevated uric acid is notorious for triggering gout, an intensely painful form of arthritis where sharp crystals form in the joints. Even if you don't have full-blown gout, mildly elevated uric acid levels have been linked to chronic low-grade inflammation throughout the body. That means your immune system stays on high alert, constantly sending inflammatory signals that can damage cartilage and worsen arthritis symptoms. You might think, but grapes are natural. They're fruit. It has to be healthy. That's one of the biggest misconceptions. Just because something is natural doesn't mean it's good in unlimited quantities. A lot of people trying to eat healthier swap out cookies and candy for giant handfuls of grapes, feeling virtuous in the process. But if you're struggling with joint pain, you could be making things worse without even knowing it. Scientific research backs this up. A study published in Arthritis and Rheumatology, 2017, showed that higher serum uric acid levels were associated with greater cartilage loss in knee osteoarthritis over time. While grapes aren't singled out in that study, the mechanism is clear. More fructose, more uric acid, more joint damage potential. Another review in Nutrients, 2020, highlights how high fructose diets can elevate inflammatory markers and exacerbate metabolic conditions that feed systemic inflammation. So imagine this scenario. You're trying to be good, skipping the candy and soda, and reaching for grapes instead. You feel like you're making the smart, health-conscious choice. But you notice your knees still ache, your fingers still feel stiff in the morning, and you can't quite figure out why. It's frustrating. It feels unfair. After all, you're doing your best, right? That's the trap so many people over 50 fall into, not realizing that even some healthy fruits can sabotage joint health when overconsumed. This doesn't mean grapes are evil or that you can never eat them again. But moderation is key, especially if you're sensitive to inflammation or have a history of gout or arthritis. Instead of mindlessly snacking on a huge bunch, try measuring out a small portion. Better yet, consider lower sugar fruits that won't spike your fructose intake so dramatically. For example, berries are a great alternative. Strawberries, raspberries, and blackberries are much lower in sugar per serving and come packed with anti-inflammatory compounds like anthocyanin. They satisfy that sweet craving without flooding your system with excess fructose. Another excellent choice is avocado, technically a fruit, but low in sugar and high in healthy fats that can actually help reduce inflammation. Even apples or pears, in reasonable portions, are generally better options than an overflowing bowl of grapes. The key takeaway is this: don't be fooled by the health halo surrounding grapes. Yes, they're natural. Yes, they contain vitamins. But for people over 50 managing joint health, they can quietly fuel inflammation and pain if eaten without thought. It's not about fear. It's about understanding what your body needs and making smarter choices that let you keep moving comfortably for years to come. Next on our list of fruits that can quietly undermine joint health is one of the most popular, convenient, and universally praised: bananas. They're a staple in breakfasts, smoothies, and on-the-go snacks. Many people over 50 reach for them, believing they're making the ideal healthy choice. After all, they're portable, inexpensive, and natural. But if you're struggling with joint pain or arthritis, it's worth taking a closer look at what bananas can do inside your body. One of the biggest issues with bananas is their sugar content and glycemic load. A medium banana typically contains about 14 grams of sugar, much of it in the form of glucose and fructose. While that might not sound catastrophic on its own, bananas have a relatively high glycemic load compared to many other fruits. That means eating a banana can significantly raise your blood sugar, especially if it's ripe and spotted, which is how many people prefer them. For some people, especially those over 50 who may have some degree of insulin resistance or prediabetes, this blood sugar spike is more than just a metabolic blip. When your blood sugar jumps rapidly, your body releases a surge of insulin to bring it back down. This roller coaster doesn't just affect your energy levels, it also feeds systemic inflammation. Elevated blood sugar and insulin levels are known to promote the release of pro-inflammatory cytokines, which can damage joint tissue over time. This might sound abstract, but the impact can be painfully real. Picture someone who starts their morning with a banana and a cup of coffee. It feels like a light, healthy choice. But by mid-morning, they're noticing their fingers feel stiff or their knees ache a little more than usual. They may not connect that small breakfast decision with the discomfort they feel later in the day. Yet for many people with arthritis or chronic joint pain, these blood sugar swings can trigger noticeable flare-ups. It gets even more nuanced. Some people are more sensitive to bananas than others. For example, individuals with certain forms of inflammatory arthritis like rheumatoid arthritis sometimes report specific food triggers that seem to make symptoms worse. While research on bananas specifically is limited, anecdotal evidence from patients suggests that for some, high-sugar fruits, including bananas, can exacerbate pain and swelling. It's a frustrating experience, trying to do the right thing and eat fruit, only to find your joints protesting later. There's also the issue of portion creep. Bananas are easy to overconsume because they're filling but not very satiating for long. You might eat one with breakfast, toss another into your smoothie, and have yet another for an afternoon snack. Before you know it, you've consumed 30 to 40 grams of sugar just from bananas alone, far more than most people realize. Does this mean bananas are bad for everyone? Of course not. They're rich in potassium, vitamin B6, and fiber. But for people over 50, especially those managing arthritis, blood sugar issues, or chronic inflammation, it pays to be cautious. The key is understanding your own body's response and practicing moderation. So what can you eat instead? If you love the convenience of bananas, try swapping them for berries like blueberries or strawberries. These have a far lower glycemic load and come packed with anti-inflammatory antioxidants. Another excellent alternative is kiwi. Despite being sweet, it has a lower glycemic impact and offers vitamin C, which can help support collagen production in joint cartilage. Apples, in controlled portions, can also be a better choice. They provide fiber that slows sugar absorption, reducing the blood sugar spike. If you're looking for even more anti-inflammatory power, consider nuts and seeds as snacks. Almonds, walnuts, and chia seeds not only keep blood sugar stable, but also deliver healthy fats that help calm inflammation throughout the body. Ultimately, bananas aren't evil, but they're not the universally safe choice they're often portrayed as, especially for joint health over 50. By understanding their sugar content and glycemic impact, you can make more strategic decisions that help reduce inflammation, protect your joints, and keep you feeling mobile and pain-free for years to come. Now let's talk about another fruit that seems like the absolute picture of health: oranges. Bright, juicy, and bursting with vitamin C, they're practically the mascot of healthy eating. Doctors tell you to get your vitamins, and oranges are often the first thing that comes to mind. You see them in ads for immunity, breakfasts, and sports, symbolizing energy and wellness. But for people over 50, especially those managing joint pain or arthritis, oranges can be a surprisingly tricky choice. One key concern is their acidic load. Oranges are naturally high in citric acid, which gives them their tangy bite. While most healthy people can handle this acidity just fine, for some individuals with arthritis, especially inflammatory forms like rheumatoid arthritis, acidic foods can be problematic. Anecdotal reports abound of people noticing their joints ache more after consuming citrus fruits like oranges. While there isn't overwhelming clinical proof that oranges directly cause arthritis to flare universally, there is enough patient-reported experience that many doctors recommend testing your own tolerance. Imagine someone with stiff hands in the morning who loves starting the day with a big glass of fresh orange juice. It feels wholesome and refreshing. But a few hours later, their fingers are throbbing more than usual, and they chalk it up to just getting older. The truth is that for sensitive individuals, that blast of citric acid can irritate already inflamed tissues or, at minimum, worsen the perception of pain. Another component at play is citric acid sensitivity. While rare in the form of a true allergy, many people have a kind of subclinical sensitivity where citric acid-containing foods make their mouth or digestive tract uncomfortable, or worse, seem to correlate with inflammatory symptoms in joints. It doesn't happen to everyone, but if you notice that citrus fruits seem to precede flare-ups, it's worth experimenting with reducing or eliminating them for a few weeks to see if symptoms improve. Beyond acidity, there's also the overconsumption issue. Oranges, while not as sugar-heavy per unit as grapes or bananas, are often eaten in large quantities, especially in the form of juice. A single orange might have around 12 grams of sugar, but a big glass of orange juice can easily deliver 25 to 30 grams or more. The problem with juice is that it removes all the fiber that slows sugar absorption. You get a rapid spike in blood sugar and insulin in response. And, as we know, blood sugar spikes are linked to systemic inflammation, which can feed joint pain over time. It's not uncommon for someone trying to be healthy to drink orange juice daily or even multiple times a day. There's a powerful health halo effect around oranges and citrus in general. People think, vitamin C is good for me, so the more the better. But vitamin C is water-soluble. Your body will flush out excess amounts it doesn't need. Meanwhile, the sugar and acidic load stick around to do their damage. What's worse is that orange juice is often marketed as an essential part of breakfast. It's a ritual for many. Pour a big glass alongside toast or cereal and feel like you're making a smart choice. But for those over 50 who want to keep joint pain at bay, it's worth questioning whether that ritual is helping or hurting. The acidity can aggravate sensitive tissues, the sugar can stoke inflammation, and the overall glycemic load can put extra stress on a metabolism that's already slowing with age. But don't misunderstand this as a call to banish all oranges from your life. For many people, enjoying an occasional orange is perfectly fine, especially when eaten whole with all its fiber intact. The real issue is mindless, daily, or excessive consumption, particularly in the form of juice. If you love citrus, consider having smaller portions, swapping juice for whole fruit, and balancing it with lower sugar, anti-inflammatory options. Some great alternatives include berries, lower in sugar and acidity, rich in antioxidants that can help fight inflammation. Papaya and melon are also gentler on acidity while providing vitamins and hydration. Even savory snacks like cucumber slices with hummus can satisfy a fresh craving without any of the sugar or acid that may trigger joint discomfort. Ultimately, oranges aren't evil. They're nutritious and refreshing in the right context. But if you're over 50 and struggling with joint pain, it's important to see past the health halo and understand how even healthy habits can backfire if they're not tailored to your body's changing needs. The key is awareness, moderation, and making choices that truly support lifelong mobility and comfort. If you want to protect your joints while still enjoying fruit, choose berries in moderation. Blueberries, strawberries, and raspberries are naturally lower in sugar and rich in anti-inflammatory antioxidants that help fight joint damage. Avocado is another smart option, technically a fruit, but low in sugar and packed with healthy fats that reduce inflammation and support cartilage health. You can also enjoy other low-sugar fruits like kiwi or green apples, which have a gentler impact on blood sugar levels. Beyond fruit, focus on anti-inflammatory foods like leafy greens, fatty fish, salmon, sardines, nuts, seeds, olive oil, and spices such as turmeric and ginger. These foods help calm your immune system's inflammatory response, ease joint pain, and keep you moving comfortably as you age. By making these swaps, you don't have to give up fruit entirely. You just choose options that work with your body, not against it, ensuring you get the nutrition you need without feeding chronic inflammation that damages your joints over time. It's a simple, sustainable shift that can make a real difference in how you feel every day. Beyond diet, adopting key lifestyle habits can dramatically improve joint health. First, prioritize hydration. Water keeps cartilage cushioned and synovial fluid flowing smoothly, reducing friction and pain. Regular exercise is essential too. Gentle activities like walking, swimming, or yoga help maintain mobility, strengthen supporting muscles, and reduce stiffness. Don't overlook omega-3 fatty acids found in fatty fish, walnuts, or flax seeds. They combat inflammation at the cellular level. Equally vital is sleep. During deep sleep, your body repairs tissues and regulates inflammatory processes, so aim for 7 to 9 hours nightly. Lastly, manage stress, which can amplify inflammation and worsen joint pain. Practices like deep breathing, meditation, or simply taking relaxing walks can lower stress hormones and support overall well-being. By combining these lifestyle strategies with a thoughtful diet, you create a holistic approach to joint health that doesn't just relieve pain in the short term, but protects your mobility and comfort for years to come. Small daily changes can have a powerful cumulative effect, helping you feel stronger, more flexible, and more in control of your health well into your later decades. Now you know the 3 common fruits that can harm joint health if you're over 50. Don't fall for the myth that all fruit is automatically good for everyone, all the time. Make smarter choices to reduce inflammation and keep moving with confidence. If you found this helpful, share it with someone who needs it. And if you want even more practical tips, check out the resources in the description below. Take control of your joint health today, because you deserve to feel strong and pain-free for years to come.